Update: my family tried to forcibly move my pregnant sister into the apartment I worked 7 years to afford, complete with fake lease agreements and hiring movers to remove my belongings. I called police, got restraining orders. They're now facing fraud charges, and I'm finally free from their manipulation. My parents arrived with a moving vehicle, intending to help me relocate into a smaller apartment. Simultaneously, my pregnant sister's baby furnishings were scheduled for delivery to my address. I promptly contacted law enforcement. Hello, everyone. Today's narrative promises to be truly astonishing. Before we dive in, if you appreciate this kind of content, please consider pressing that subscribe button. The channel has been rather quiet lately, and your support is essential for its continuation. Let's begin. This story originates from an earlier post. I, a 29-year-old male, am seeking guidance on a family situation that has spiraled completely out of control. Frankly, I'm at my breaking point and desperately need an impartial perspective, as I'm starting to question my own sanity. For context, I've dedicated the past 7 years to relentless effort establishing my current position. After graduating from college, I resided in a confined studio apartment for 4 years, meticulously saving every possible cent. I took on additional freelance work alongside my primary employment, forfeited vacations, and essentially sustained myself on budget meals. 2 years ago, I finally accumulated sufficient funds for a down payment on a 2-bedroom residence in a respectable area. It's not luxurious, but it is definitively mine. I transformed the second bedroom into a dedicated home office as I work remotely 3 days each week. My sister, Sarah, 27, has consistently been the favored child within our family. I harbor no resentment regarding this. Well, perhaps a small amount, but it simply reflects the long-standing dynamic. She withdrew from college on 2 occasions, drifted between various retail positions, and our parents invariably intervened to assist her. She's discovering herself, they would frequently remark. All the while, I was working 60 hours weekly, a fact that seemed to go unnoticed by everyone. 3 weeks ago, Sarah announced her pregnancy. The father is Tyler, 30, her intermittent partner who holds a part-time position at a vape shop and believes he's on the verge of achieving significant success with his band. Their cumulative time together amounts to approximately 8 months, though not consecutively. My parents were absolutely overjoyed, thrilled about their first grandchild and all that entails. This is where things truly become outlandish. Last Sunday, during our customary family meal at my parents' residence, my mother, Linda, 52, abruptly declared, "James, we need to discuss the apartment arrangements." I was utterly baffled by her statement. She proceeded to elaborate that, given Sarah's pregnancy, she requires a suitable place to live. Sarah currently occupies a 1-bedroom dwelling with Tyler, but my mother deemed it an unsuitable environment for a baby. My father, Robert, 54, interjected, "Infants need ample room. A nursery for their growth. You are a single individual. 2 bedrooms are unnecessary for you." I literally choked on my wine. They were entirely earnest. They genuinely expected me to relinquish the apartment I had purchased with my own earnings to my sister. Not to sell it to her, not to rent it to her, but to simply transfer ownership. I endeavored to remain composed. I explained that the second bedroom serves as my workspace, that I had diligently toiled for this property, and that it represents my home. My mother's reply was, "Family supports family. When you eventually have a child, Sarah will extend the same assistance to you." Sarah merely sat there, offering a faint smile and lightly stroking her abdomen, despite being only about 10 weeks along, with no discernible bump yet. She said little, but she did highlight how perfectly suited my neighborhood was for raising a family, citing excellent schools, safe streets, and proximity to the park. I delivered a firm, yet polite refusal. That's when the situation escalated. My mother began to weep, accusing me of selfishness and a lack of concern for my future niece or nephew. My father branded me materialistic, prioritizing possessions over people. Sarah finally spoke, asserting she had always sensed my resentment toward her, and that some individuals simply aren't destined to be uncles. I departed shortly thereafter. I've been inundated with messages throughout the week. My mother sends articles emphasizing the significance of familial support. My father provided a spreadsheet. I'm not joking. A detailed spreadsheet illustrating the mathematical fact that a single person requires less living space than a family. Sarah posted on a social media platform about the collective effort required to raise a child and expressed gratitude for those supporting her journey. My extended relatives have now become involved. My aunt labeled me selfish, and my cousin sent a message inquiring if I was genuinely rendering a pregnant woman homeless. I've attempted to clarify that Sarah is not without a home. She possesses an apartment, but no one seems willing to listen. What truly vexes me is this: they haven't suggested I temporarily reside with them or offered any assistance in finding a new place. They simply presume I'll manage as I always do. When I mentioned my mortgage obligations, my mother suggested I could secure a studio apartment, which would cost less than my mortgage payment, and they might occasionally help with the difference. I am not devoid of empathy. I care for my sister despite everything. I would gladly assist her in searching for a larger residence, perhaps even contributing towards a security deposit if she had managed to save any funds herself. But to surrender my home, the apartment I dedicated years to acquiring, so she and her unemployed partner can pretend to be a family on my dime? Am I unreasonable here? I feel as though my entire family is attempting to manipulate my perception. They portray me as a heartless individual who wishes suffering upon infants. Yet this is my abode. I earned it. Why should I surrender it? Because Sarah made different life decisions. Incidentally, the pregnancy was unplanned. She confided this to me when she first discovered it. Now, however, solving their housing predicament has somehow become my responsibility. I desperately need advice. How can I navigate this without severing my family ties? And simultaneously, how can I stand firm without being cast as the antagonist in everyone's narrative? An update. The response to this has been overwhelming. I'm reviewing all your comments and am astonished by how many of you have encountered comparable circumstances. To address some common inquiries, yes, the apartment is entirely in my name and my parents possess no legal claim to it. They provided no assistance with the down payment. In fact, they cautioned me against rushing into home ownership. Sarah and Tyler currently pay $900 monthly for their accommodation, while my mortgage is $2,400. Tyler, I know, isn't taking responsibility. He believes they should see how things progress before making significant choices. I plan to try speaking with them again this weekend. We'll update. Update 1, posted 2 weeks later. Prepare yourselves, because this situation has significantly worsened. First, my sincere thanks to everyone who responded to my initial post. Your comments instilled in me the resolve to maintain my position. I even prepared a list of key discussion points for our family meeting. So, last Saturday, I invited everyone to my apartment for lunch, believing a neutral environment might be beneficial. This was a grave error. A monumental error. They arrived 45 minutes early. I was still preparing food when I heard a key in my lock. Yes, my parents still possessed a spare key from when I first moved in. I immediately resolved to change the locks. In walked my mother, father, Sarah, and Tyler. But that wasn't all. They brought my Aunt Patricia, my mother's sister, and her husband Michael, in the capacity of mediators. Apparently, my family had decided I required an intervention. Tyler promptly reclined on my couch and began operating my PlayStation 5. Sarah started pacing around, and I initially thought she was simply being inquisitive. My mother commenced rearranging my kitchen, claiming I had been incorrectly organizing my spices for 2 years. I attempted to seat everyone and initiate the discussion, but Aunt Patricia immediately interjected with, "James, we are all here because we care deeply for you and desire what is best for the family." The intervention essentially consisted of them taking turns explaining why my stance was unreasonable. My father produced his laptop, complete with a PowerPoint presentation titled Space Utilization in Modern Living. My mother wept, lamenting that she had been dreaming of grandchildren and that I was denying her the complete experience. Aunt Patricia spoke of her generation's understanding of self-sacrifice. Sarah stated she was experiencing morning sickness and required a stable environment. Tyler even mentioned that his band might need access to a garage for rehearsals. My building, notably, does not feature a garage. I remained composed. I utilized the suggestions you provided. I articulated that I understood their concerns, but emphasized that the apartment was my personal residence, not a communal family asset. I offered to assist Sarah in her search for an apartment and even pledged to contribute $1,000 towards a deposit. That's when events spiraled out of control. Sarah stood up and declared, "Actually, there's something I need to inspect." She proceeded directly to my bedroom. My bedroom? I followed, perplexed, and discovered her in my closet, illuminated by her phone's flashlight, examining the walls. "This would be ideal for the nursery," she stated. "The closet is spacious enough for a changing area." I demanded to know what she was doing. She simply smiled and said, "Just planning ahead. Mom said you'd eventually agree." It was at that moment I realized they had already made this decision. This meeting was merely a formality for me to accept their decree. I returned to the living room to find my mother in my home office, equipped with a measuring tape. A measuring tape. She was literally measuring my office, informing my father that the crib would fit perfectly against a specific wall. I completely lost my composure. My tone was firm, though I wasn't shouting. I instructed everyone to leave. My mother attempted to guilt-trip me, saying, "We're just trying to help plan." My father became incensed, declaring, "You're being absurd. We're discussing your sister's future." But here's the absolute worst part. As they were departing, Sarah turned to me and said, "Oh, I've scheduled an appointment with a designer for Thursday at 2 p.m. She specializes in nurseries." You don't need to be present, but please leave the key under the doormat. I unequivocally refused. She simply rolled her eyes and retorted, "Fine, I'll just use Mom's key." They then left. I immediately contacted a locksmith. But wait, there's even more to this. On Monday, I received a text from Sarah containing a Pinterest board titled James Apartment Nursery Ideas. It contained 47 pins, 47, including color swatches and furniture layouts, specifically for my bedroom. On Tuesday, my mother called, crying, to say the locksmith had denied her entry when she attempted to let the designer in, accusing me of escalating the situation. On Wednesday, I received a call from my building's management office. Someone, you can guess who, had telephoned to have Sarah and Tyler added to my lease. When informed that only I possessed the authority to do so, they then inquired about the building's family transfer policy. No such policy exists. On Thursday, while working from home, I heard someone at my door. I checked my security camera feed. It was Sarah with an unfamiliar woman. They were attempting various keys. I have the entire 10-minute incident recorded on video before they ultimately gave up. Thursday evening, the family group chat erupted. My mother claimed I refused to let the designer in. $200 consultation fee wasted. Sarah wrote, "Some uncle you'll be. Hope you can live with yourself." My father stated, "Your mother hasn't stopped crying. Are you content now?" Various relatives chimed in, accusing me of fracturing the family and being stubborn. Friday morning, I woke to 14 missed calls. Apparently, Sarah had created a social media event titled, "Help Sarah Move into Her New Home," scheduled for 3 weeks from then, at my specific address. 23 individuals had already confirmed their attendance. Yes, I commented on the event. "This is my apartment. Sarah does not reside here and will not be moving in." The event was removed within an hour, but not before screenshots were captured and circulated within the family group chat as proof of my supposed cruelty. The most recent development. Tyler sent me a text yesterday, not to offer an apology or anything of the sort. He wanted to ascertain whether I would be retaining my PlayStation 5 when I vacated the premises, or if it would remain for the baby to utilize when they were older. I am completely fed up. I've initiated the installation of security cameras and meticulously documented every occurrence. I am also contemplating sending a cease and desist letter, a measure I never imagined I'd need to employ against my own family. The pregnancy hormones excuse is utter nonsense. This is clearly a calculated strategy. They have progressed from merely asking to presuming, and now to actively orchestrating my removal from my own home. I will provide another update if anything further transpires, though honestly, I hope they will somehow grasp the seriousness of my resolve and retreat. I doubt it, however. An additional note. Yes, I have now engaged a lawyer. Yes, I have changed the locks. No, I haven't blocked them yet, as I need to continue documenting their erratic behavior should this escalate legally. And for those inquiring, the designer was genuine. Sarah had indeed paid a $200 deposit. The professional confirmed this when I contacted her company to clarify the situation. She was deeply mortified and promptly refunded Sarah's payment. Update 2. Posted 6 weeks after the previous entry. I anticipated needing to provide another update, but I never imagined the situation would reach such an extreme level. Please grab a beverage, because this is truly beyond belief. After my last post, things remained quiet for about 2 weeks. Too quiet. I should have realized they were devising something. During this period, I acted upon everyone's advice. I installed security cameras, which proved to be the best $400 I've ever spent. I sent a cease and desist letter to my parents and Sarah. I continued to document everything. I also began therapy, as this entire ordeal was impacting my work and sleep. My therapist actually helped me achieve a crucial understanding. This wasn't solely about the apartment. It was about years of my family taking my stability and achievements for granted while consistently enabling Sarah's poor decisions. The apartment ultimately became the breaking point. In the 3rd week of silence, I received a text from my cousin Emma asking if I was excited about the impending move. Confused, I inquired what she meant. She sent me a screenshot from Sarah's social media story, which read, "Can't wait to set up baby's room. So grateful for family support. Red heart, red heart." The attached photo depicted my apartment building, specifically my unit's balcony with my potted plants clearly visible. I immediately messaged Sarah, no reply. I called my parents. It went straight to voicemail. Something was clearly amiss. That Thursday, I was at my corporate office, not my home office, when my neighbor Kevin texted me, "Hey man, there's a moving truck outside. Are you moving?" My blood ran cold. I checked my security camera application. Sure enough, a U-Haul was parked outside. My parents' vehicle occupied a visitor spot, and Sarah and Tyler's dilapidated Honda was also present. I instantly departed from work, informing my manager of a family emergency. The 20-minute drive felt like an eternity. I arrived to find the truck's rear open. Inside, I saw a crib, a changing table, and boxes labeled baby's room. They weren't attempting to move me out. They were moving Sarah in. I ran to my apartment. The door was intact, thankfully for robust locks, but I could hear voices from the hallway. I approached silently and overheard my mother on the phone with someone. Yes, the locksmith should be here any minute. My son gave us permission, but simply forgot to leave the key. I immediately dialed 911, explaining that individuals were attempting to unlawfully enter my apartment. While still on the phone, I began recording a video. The locksmith arrived before the police. I observed him approaching my door, where my parents, Sarah, Tyler, and two unfamiliar men were waiting. My father handed him cash. That's when I stepped out. Do not touch that lock. I am the owner, and these people do not have my permission to enter. The locksmith appeared confused. My mother promptly began. James, perfect timing. We were just... No, I interrupted her. I've called the police. You are trespassing. Sarah began to cry. How can you do this to your pregnant sister? Tyler, ever so helpful, chimed in. Dude, the truck is only rented until 4 o'clock. The locksmith, commendably, immediately retreated, stating he would not become embroiled in a family dispute. He departed just as the police cruisers arrived. I explained the situation to the officers, presenting my lease agreement, the cease and desist letter, and the security camera footage of them attempting to gain entry. My family tried to frame it as a misunderstanding, but the officers were not convinced. Here's where it truly gets interesting. One of the unknown men with them began to show signs of anxiety when the officers were verifying identities. It turned out he had an outstanding warrant for unpaid child support. He was arrested on the spot. The other man was a professional tenant relocator, meaning someone they had hired to physically remove my belongings if necessary. When the officers clarified that what he had been hired to do constituted an illegal eviction, he quickly left the scene. The officers made it unequivocally clear to my family they needed to vacate the premises immediately, and any subsequent attempts to enter would result in arrest. They were formally trespassed from the property. My father, flushed with anger, began shouting about how I was destroying the family and prioritizing possessions over kinship. My mother wailed that I was killing her grandchild by causing Sarah stress. Sarah, still playing the victim, sobbed about having already informed everyone of the new address and how mortified she would be. Tyler, incredibly, asked if we could at least unload the truck, given that everything was already packed. The officers escorted them out. I followed to ensure their actual departure. It was then I observed the contents inside the truck, not just baby furniture, but Sarah's entire apartment. They had packed everything. They were quite literally moving her in that very day. But wait, it somehow gets even better. I returned to my apartment and checked my mail. There was an envelope from my parents. Inside, I discovered a rental agreement between myself and Sarah, dated 3 weeks from now, stipulating that I would rent my apartment to her for $500 per month. Remember, my mortgage is $2,400. It was already signed by her and my parents as witnesses. There was also a note. James, we thought this would be fair. You can stay with us for a few months until you find something suitable. Love, Mom and Dad. They were planning to forge my signature. I spent the remainder of the day addressing the repercussions. Building management had to formally issue a trespass warning to them. I filed for a restraining order. I updated my emergency contact information at work, which had previously been my mother. I removed them as beneficiaries from my bank accounts. The family group chat exploded. Aunt Patricia. Calling the police on your pregnant sister. Cousin Mark. Wow. Just wow. Money truly changes people. Uncle Christopher. Your grandparents would be ashamed. Mom. You've broken my heart. I don't have a son anymore. Dad. All this for an apartment? I hope you're happy living alone forever. Sarah. I'll remember this when you need help someday. The only solace came from my cousin Emma, who messaged me privately. Just saw the security footage you posted. They're all insane. Stand your ground. Yes, I had posted the footage on my social media before blocking them all, allowing everyone to witness the actual events. The following few days were a deluge of harassment, unsolicited food delivery orders, fake online advertisements with my phone number offering a free PlayStation 5, hundreds of newsletter subscriptions in my name, and 3 separate locksmith calls claiming I was locked out. Then a week of complete silence until yesterday. I received a certified letter from a lawyer. My family is suing me for 1. Emotional distress, 2. Breach of verbal contract, 3. Unlawful eviction, a claim I can't be guilty of as no one ever lived here, and 4. Damages related to the moving truck rental and storage fees. They are seeking $15,000, plus my apartment. My lawyer actually chuckled. He genuinely laughed, stating it was the most ludicrous case he had encountered in years. We are countersuing for harassment, attempted breaking and entering, attempted fraud, and defamation. But here's the truly shocking part. Remember how Sarah and Tyler had packed up their entire apartment? Well, they had given notice to their landlord. They are now technically without a home because they were so utterly convinced this plan would succeed. They are currently residing with my parents, who are now contending with Tyler's band practicing in their garage at all hours and Sarah's morning sickness. The latest I heard through the grapevine, Emma remains my inside source, is that my parents are already strained by the living arrangements. My mother complained to her book club that Tyler constantly leaves dishes everywhere, and Sarah has monopolized their entire bathroom with pregnancy-related products. It's a mess. As for me, I am doing remarkably well. My apartment is more secure than ever. I am actively engaged in therapy, addressing years of family turmoil, and I have never felt more resolute about a decision in my life. To everyone who predicted I would capitulate and eventually post about losing my apartment, you were incorrect. To those who encouraged me to stand my ground, you provided me with the strength to do so. I will provide an update after the court proceedings, though my lawyer believes their case will likely be dismissed. He is more focused on our countersuit, particularly the attempted fraud concerning the fabricated lease. For now, I am simply enjoying my 2-bedroom apartment in peace. I'm considering redecorating my office. Perhaps I'll even send Sarah the Pinterest board. A note. Since many are asking, yes, this is entirely real. I possess all the documentation, security footage, and legal papers to substantiate it. Yes, I am in therapy to process this. No, I do not regret defending my position. And to those who suggest I should have simply given them the apartment to preserve peace, you are contributing to the problem. Enabling this behavior is precisely why it escalated to this degree. Another note. The locksmith they called actually contacted me afterwards. He has witnessed similar situations before and wanted to ensure I was all right. He mentioned that in his 20 years, he's been called to maybe a dozen comparable family takeover scenarios, indicating it's more widespread than one might think. He gave me his contact information and offered to testify about what he witnessed, should it be necessary. Final update, posted 3 months after the previous one. 3 months have passed since the attempted invasion, and I finally have resolution to this unbelievable saga. This will be my concluding update, as, thankfully, this chapter of my life is officially closed. First, the legal specifics. My family's lawsuit was dismissed within 3 weeks. The judge declared it frivolous and an imposition on the court's time. Their attorneys subsequently apologized to my lawyer, explaining he had advised against filing, but they had insisted. Our countersuit, however, proceeded. Here's what transpired. Harassment was proven through documented calls, texts, false deliveries, and online posts. My parents and Sarah were ordered to pay $3,000 in damages. Attempted breaking and entering was reduced to trespassing, as they didn't technically force entry. They received formal warnings. Attempted fraud was the significant charge. The fabricated lease with the intention to forge my signature is a serious offense. Sarah received 18 months of probation and 100 hours of community service. My parents each received 12 months of probation as conspirators. Defamation was dismissed, as proving damages from family drama on social media is challenging. The total amount awarded was $7,500 in damages, plus all my legal fees. They have 6 months to remit payment. Yet, the legal triumph isn't even the most remarkable aspect. Here's where events become truly compelling. During the discovery phase of the lawsuit, my lawyer uncovered something extraordinary. Recall how my parents implied they would occasionally assist with the difference if I rented a studio? Well, Sarah had been narrating a different version of events. We subpoenaed her text messages pertinent to the fraud case and discovered conversations with Tyler's mother where she admitted the strategy was to 1. Move into my apartment, 2. Have me cover the mortgage while I resided with my parents, 3. Gradually discontinue the $500 payments once the baby arrived, reasoning that I wouldn't evict family with a baby, and 4. Eventually compel me to sign over the apartment because its upkeep would be too stressful for me. She literally texted, "Once we're in for a year, squatters' rights kick in." We looked it up. Fun fact, they were searched incorrectly. That's not how it operates in our state. Tyler's mother's reply, "Brilliant. He seems like a pushover when it comes to family." These texts were presented in court. The judge was distinctly unimpressed. The family repercussions. The restraining orders were granted, prohibiting them from contacting me for 2 years, except through lawyers for the payment arrangement. Extended family initially sided with them until the court documents became public record. Suddenly, everyone became silent. Aunt Patricia deleted her social media posts concerning me. Uncle Christopher feigned never having uttered a word. Emma, my insider cousin, informed me that family gatherings have been uncomfortable without my presence. Apparently, there's a divide between those who still believe I should have helped family and those who are appalled by Sarah and my parents' actions. The baby. Sarah gave birth 2 months ago to a girl. I learned this via Emma. I haven't met her and have no intentions of doing so. Perhaps that sounds unsentimental, but I cannot risk reopening that door to dysfunction. Here's the element of poetic justice. Remember how they terminated their apartment lease? Well, securing a new residence has proven challenging due to an eviction for non-payment after they couldn't move back into their previous place, Sarah's criminal record for fraud, and their dreadful credit scores. They continue to live with my parents, 5 adults, and an infant in a 3-bedroom house. Tyler's ban persists in practicing in the garage. The baby experiences colic. My mother retired prematurely, claiming she needed to assist with the baby. Translation: Sarah expected free childcare. My father has been working extensive overtime to manage their expenses. The unexpected turn. A month ago, I received a call from an unknown number. It was Tyler's mother. She apologized profusely and requested a meeting. Against my better judgment, I consented. She revealed that Tyler and Sarah have been constantly quarreling. The strain of living with my parents, the baby, and the lack of space is destroying their relationship. But here's the absolute shocker. She had been scrutinizing Tyler's finances because something felt amiss. It turns out Tyler has been dishonest about his income. He isn't working part-time at a vape shop. He has been employed full-time at his uncle's construction company for 2 years, earning a respectable wage. He had been concealing this in a separate account, telling Sarah he was broke, while saving to relocate to Los Angeles to pursue his band aspirations. He had $23,000 saved up. $23,000. All while my parents were incurring debt to support them, while they attempted to seize my apartment under false pretenses of poverty, and while Sarah was posting crowdfunding requests for baby supplies. Tyler's mother provided me with bank statements. She is enraged and disgusted, having also supported them, believing they were struggling. I considered this information for a week, then forwarded it all to my lawyer. He, in turn, sent it to Sarah's lawyer, including a note regarding financial deception within the context of our settlement. Last I heard, Sarah discovered the hidden money. A massive argument ensued. Tyler moved out, and my parents are now solely supporting Sarah and the baby while she initiates proceedings for child support. Where I stand now. I still live in my apartment. I've redecorated the office. It's now a refined gaming and work setup. I've received a promotion at work. It turns out that being free from daily family drama significantly enhances job performance. I am now in a relationship with someone I met in therapy. We were in the same waiting room, began conversing, and connected instantly. She has heard this entire ordeal and humorously remarks that she's grateful my family revealed their true colors before we met. Imagine encountering them at a wedding. I have cultivated a chosen family of friends who genuinely respect boundaries. We host game nights in my apartment, the very apartment my birth family tried to appropriate. The security cameras remain installed, the locks are still changed, but I no longer check them obsessively. The letter. Last week, I received correspondence forwarded through my lawyer. It was from my mother. 3 pages detailing how much she misses me, how the family feels incomplete, and how she wishes we could move past this. No apology, no acknowledgement of their actions, merely a recounting of her personal hardship. I discarded it. Sometimes, family isn't determined by birth. Sometimes, it's who you choose. And sometimes, the most beneficial decision you can make is to choose yourself. To everyone who followed this saga, thank you. Your encouragement, counsel, and validation preserved my sanity. You helped me understand that I wasn't irrational, I wasn't selfish, and I wasn't wrong to safeguard what I had diligently earned. My apartment remains mine. My life remains mine. And for the first time in 29 years, I am liberated from the guilt, manipulation, and expectation that family helps family, even when that assistance is merely enabling. I am concluding these updates because there is nothing further to relate. They are no longer a part of my life. I am flourishing. And that is the most ideal conclusion I could desire. A final clarification to address the most frequent inquiry. Yes, I do feel empathy for the baby. She is blameless in all of this. I have established a modest education fund in her name, which Sarah will not be aware of until the child reaches 18. It is my way of providing assistance without being drawn back into the family's dysfunction. The fund is managed by a trust, inaccessible to Sarah. Perhaps one day my niece will comprehend why her uncle had to withdraw. Or perhaps she won't. Either way, she will possess something from me that her parents cannot seize.